Good morning, afternoon, or evening geometry. This is Q4 week 5. We are going to talk about equations of circles for a little bit this week. So if you think back to Algebra 1, we learned about parabolas, and there's a formula or an equation for a parabola. Well, we can do the same thing with a circle. So we know what a circle is. A circle in geometry we define it as the set. That just means a collection of the set of all points in a plane. Means it's two-dimensional. That are equidistant means equal, distance, equidistant from one point called the center. So, just like we're used to in math, we're going to take what you already know, combine it with some other things, make it a little bit harder. So, anything we do in geometry, we can also have an algebra way to explain it. And algebra just means I'm going to write an equation, and it's going to have variables sometimes instead of numbers. So, the standard form of an equation for a circle. Standard form for the equation of a circle. Make sure you are pausing and taking notes as often as you need to, please, because I'm going to scroll and move on when I need more space, so make sure you stop and go back if you need to. So standard form for the equation of a circle. The formula looks like this, and there's going to be some variables in here, and we'll define each of them. So x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So this has x and y. That means when we graph it, you're going to have an xy axis. So that seems pretty normal. Then we've got these letters h, k, and r. So we need to figure out what h, k, and r mean. I'm going to put parentheses around the r because it's going to help us later. So h, k, r. What are each of these things? H is the x-coordinates of the center. K is the y-coordinate of the center. R is the length of the radius. So we can say the center of the circle has the coordinates h, comma, k. So now we're going to look at a couple of examples. How do we use this? How does it help us? Okay, make sure you have that formula handy because we're going to need it. So, what is the center point and the length of the radius of the circle with the following equation? X minus 9 squared plus y minus 6 squared equals 100. So the cool thing is that our formula says x minus h. So that means if it's subtracted, that's the form I want. If you see subtraction here and here, that's good. I'm going to take the positive version of this. If I saw plus in either of those spots, then I would take the opposite. So I just look and I think, okay, well, this number right here has to be my h. This is my k. Now this is r squared. It's not r, it's r squared. So to find r, I'm going to have to do a little bit of math. So I can take the first two pieces of information and find my center. My center is h comma k. So my center is 9, 6. So now my radius, I know r squared is equal to 100, but my radius is going to be the square root of this. So if I take the square root to get r by itself, r equals 10. So my center is 9, 6, and my radius is 10 units long. So there's my center, there's my radius. So I answered both the questions in that. So let's go the other direction. Let's take some information about the radius and the center point and see if we can write the equation. So, what is the equation of a circle with a center of 4, 3 and a radius of 5. So my formula says my center is h comma k, and the equation is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Throw my color coding on here. So radius of 5, I know that's going to be my r. And then my h and k are going to come from my center point. So I know my center point is 4, 3. I know my radius is 5, so I've got these numbers to plug in. So x minus 4 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 5 squared. Now I don't want to leave it like this because I want this last part right here to not have a square on it. So my final form is going to be x minus 4 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 25. And that is the equation that would help me draw that circle. I can also use this information to help me sketch out the circle. So if I wanted to actually sketch the circle, I could draw my xy axis. Here's my y. And my x will be right about here. And let's remember we have center at 4, 3, radius of 5. So I can find the center by going to 0.43. And then my radius is just going to be 5 over, so 5 over any direction. I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's one edge of the circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's another edge of the circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the top one would be up above me. Right about here. So if I wanted to draw this circle in, now I've got 4 points and I can do my best and just kind of sketch this circle in about right there. Totally not perfect, but if I used a compass, I could set my compass to the length of the radius and draw it in real easily. Okay, let's do one more example of writing an equation. So, circle with a center of 2, -1, and a radius of 4. So again, my center is H, comma, K, and my formula is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So, we're going to plug these numbers in. I'm going to look and see. Let's see, this is my radius right here. My h is the x coordinate. My k is the y coordinate. Oh, and this one has a negative in it. So this is good. We need to see what happens. How do we plug a negative in correctly? So we don't want to get it wrong. Okay, so x minus h, which is 2, squared, that's the easy one, plus y minus -1 squared equals 4 squared. This is where the parentheses helps. Alright, so I'm just going to look and make sure everything is in correct standard form. So x minus 2 squared, that's good. Plus y, when I have minus and negative, have to have this minus here, and then this is a negative, so minus and negative turns that into plus. So y plus 1 squared equals 4 times 4 is 16, so 16. And this is the standard form of this equation. So I'm going to have you writing some equations and taking some equations and finding the center and radius. Let's do one more example before we go. What is the equation of the circle pictured below? Now we're going to try and make an equation based on a graph. So here's my graph. Y-axis, x-axis. I'm going to put a circle in here. Alright, so here is my circle. Now let's take a look. What is the center of the circle? The center is right here. So the coordinates for the center are 0, 0. And what is the radius? The radius goes from the edge of the circle to the center. This radius is 2, because I can see it's 2 units. I can check any direction. 2 units, 2 units, 2 units. So my radius is 2. So I know this is my H, this is my K, and then I've got my radius. So my formula, let's write it down every time. X minus H squared plus Y minus K squared equals R squared. So I've got my formula. All I have to do is plug these numbers in. So x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals 2 squared. So we're going to go through and simplify. X minus 0, that's just x squared plus y minus 0 is just y squared equals 2 squared is 4. So I can write this simply as x squared plus y squared equals 4. So if you notice, there's nothing here with the x and the y. If you see an equation, there's nothing, there's no h, there's no k, that means your center is 0, 0. So take notes, write down any questions you have, and as usual, send me an email if you have any questions, and I will see you soon.